Welcome to Fostering Solutions, a podcast that uplifts people and enterprises making positive impact in communities around the world. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Foster. My guest today is Shamaya Morris. Shamaya, thank you so much for joining me on Fostering Solutions.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. All mine.
Wonderful. So tell the audience about yourself. Who is Shamaya Morris?
I'm a West Virginia native. I was born right here in this great state. I was born in Beckley, West Virginia, so about 2.5 hours south of where the plant is in Buffalo, West Virginia. Um, I'm a daughter of a single mother. I watched my mom get her bachelor's in nursing with 4 kids.
Wow.
I struggled with one class and one job, right?
Like you have no excuse.
No excuse. So she got her bachelor's with the 4 of us and worked night shift for years. Then she got remarried, had 2 more kids, and went back and got her master's. So she set the bar high.
What a role model. Yeah.
What a role model. So a lot of what I learned about how I wanted to present myself professionally and what my work ethic is supposed to look like, I learned from my mom. So I'm extremely driven in that regard to make her proud, to prove myself, to do those things. But ultimately, it just, I'm a hard worker by nature, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just because of the example that I saw. So that's really, I think, the essence of who I am just as a person.
Such a wonderful testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're an industrial engineer, I read?
Yes, ma'am, an industrial engineer.
So what piqued your interest in industrial? Because my original career was chemical. I don't think at the time I heard about.
Wow.
Yeah, I started off as a chemical engineer.
So you were one of those geniuses that I knew, that I read about.
One of those nerds.
Those chemical engineers are geniuses. That's what I remember.
So how did you end up in industrial engineering?
So funny story. So I actually I started at WVU. I went to WVU, mm-hmm. and I started in the computer engineering and computer science program. And that was my focus coming in before, like when I was in high school. One thing that our school at Woodrow Wilson allowed us to do was take a 2-year certification at the vocational school, right?
I love that program. I've heard of high schools doing that.
And as a junior, so that's what I did for 2 years. And I enrolled in computer systems and operational support. And it was like one of my favorite classes. Mm-hmm. So when I went to college, that was just my dream. That was my vision. But the first couple classes, it didn't give me what I thought I would get, right? Like I enjoyed learning about it, but I'm a hands-on person. Like I like breaking things, which is why I'm at Toyota. I like breaking things and touching things. So it was more programming than I thought it would be. So we have to do, all of the engineers at the school that enroll in the college have to do like this intro to engineering orientation class where we learn about all facets, all different disciplines. And I remember sitting there hearing about industrial engineering. And at first I thought, I've always heard like, industrial engineering it's not really engineering. It's not really a discipline that lets you be as technical as you need to be. But man, I learned something so much different than what the previous idea was. It's extremely technical. The thing I love about it is that it has so many aspects of other disciplines. So we learned mechanical engineering, we learned electrical, we learned the programming side, and we learned all of this built into that curriculum. So I felt like I had more opportunities than I would have had in computer, right? Being so zoned in on that one field. Mm-hmm. But just that class, shout out to Dr. Bird, right? The WU teacher. He really did a good job of laying out the disciplines and describing what avenues lead to where. And this is the potential jobs that you have with each one. And that's where I learned about it, was in that course. But I started with computer engineering.
Okay. So you're with Toyota Manufacturing now in Buffalo. Yes, so describe your career trajectory. How did you go from WVU to where you are now?
Yeah, so when I was in grad school, so I was a bit non-traditional in the way that I did a co-op or an internship basically with Toyota in graduate school.
Okay.
So I took one semester out of my coursework and went to work at Toyota as a production engineer. And I loved it. Like, I loved the
Okay.
people. I loved the work that we did. I loved learning about that side of manufacturing. Like, it was just everything about the job just like got me going, right? I wanted to do it.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And I was the co-op that, kind of just bounced around. And I loved that. I loved going to spending one area machining, like a certain amount of time in the machining area. And then another couple months I was in assembly. And then another couple months I was with my assistant manager, who was my mentor at the time. So I got to really get a hands-on experience of what it was I was hoping to do. And so the co-op term ended in 2015. And I finished my graduate program in 2016 and then started full-time that same year. So I always say that my trajectory is still forming. It's like, I've been with the company, it'll be 5 years in August, and I've recently just taken on a new role. So I moved out of the engineering department and moved to production to learn a different side of manufacturing. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So I still think my trajectory is still taking shape.
It's still, you're at the lower, kind of like the
I'm
lower.
like, yeah, at the bottom of the curve, like trying to figure out what I want to do
Up there.
Yeah,
It seems like Toyota is a great place to be, just from the way, I forgot who, Bethany, I think is the one, the way you all reached out about being a sponsor for the Summit and Race Matters.
Yes, ma'am.
Seems like it's a very progressive and inclusive place. You want to share, what your experience has been at Toyota?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, one of the pillars of Toyota is respect for people. And I think you see that embedded in everything that we do. Like, everything that we do, whether it's on the production side where we're actually touching parts and making the components, or whether it's on the engineering side, whether we're part of the team that's developing the ideas and the layout, the projects and things like that. There's a respect for people there that you really don't see in a lot of places. They value the diversity of thought. They value the input that you have. I remember being a co-op and I was thrown out there early, presenting to like the president because they just wanted your input, right? And it's just so refreshing to have that, right? It's refreshing for them to see that. And then ultimately what they do is develop you, right? They develop you to be more outspoken, and they push you, and they want to hear what you have to say.
Right. They value your insights. They
develop your insights, exactly. And it's just refreshing to see that and to be a part of it. I always say that, like, the respect for people really is the backbone of what they do. And you can see that in how they deal with their suppliers, with how we deal with our customers, with how we deal with our the people that we serve, right? Like our team members and things like that. They really value your experience, your work experience. So it's very refreshing, I think.
Yeah. So did you work anywhere else? Because did you have any other internship or co-op experiences before getting there?
I didn't. I was one of the ones in school, like, so we have to do a capstone in our undergraduate. And I was paired with a student of the same college that actually went on and started her own company. Her and her husband started her own company. So I was paired with her and got to see that side of it, right? More of the business avenue of it and what industrial engineers can contribute in that field. But this is my first experience, right? Toyota, my co-op, was the first experience I had in manufacturing. And so after that, I knew that's what I wanted.
Right. So as you went through WVU and where you are, seems like you're having a wonderful experience there at Toyota. Have you run into hurdles? And any hurdles you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think the biggest, really most of the hurdles that I say I overcome were personal, right? I don't think they were, I've been blessed enough to say that I haven't had to really overcome a lot of the hardships that people before me had to, right? And it's because of the people before me, right?
Absolutely. That really standing on their shoulders, absolutely.
Right. So I definitely can acknowledge that. but a lot of the hurdles that I had to face were personal. One big one that I thought of was, as great of a company that I work for, I had a really hard time with getting used to being the only in a room. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I got used to, you go through your life, college, high school, all these, you get used to being the only person that looks like you, mm-hmm. right? So you naturally, I turned it off. I just go in the room, I do my job, keep my head down. In those moments, someone said my name, I would speak up. But in those moments where someone actually said my name, I felt like I lost my voice, right? I didn't really know, I didn't have the confidence. I didn't know what to say. Like, how should I say this? How did I come across this way? Do I come across that way? Mm-hmm. But really, what I learned from that and what I gauged from that and looking over it is that I have to acknowledge that I really am the only person that looks like me in most of these rooms. I'm the only female on my team. I was the only female engineer. I was the only African-American engineer on my side for a while. Mm-hmm. So I have to acknowledge the diversity that I bring, not just on the outside, right? But the thought process. Right. I don't think the same way as a lot of my comrades, right? I don't think the same way as a lot of the people that I work with. And that's what Toyota wants. Mm-hmm. They don't want people that think all the same and offer the same ideas and the same, techniques for doing things. They want the diversity of thought. And not that my diversity is just me being a Black woman, but it contributes to my voice. It contributes to what I bring to the table. So I had to get used, to being the only in the room and owning that it's fine. Yeah, I'm in a room with, a bunch of men, and yeah, I'm the only Black person I see. I'm the only female I see. But at the end of the day, they're looking for me to contribute. That's in my way.
There's a reason you're there.
That's
there's
right.
a reason why you're there. Absolutely. Very, very strong. So where can we find industrial engineers?
We are everywhere.
They're everywhere. Okay. So we
are out here.
Those places.
Yes, ma'am. So a lot of the students that I graduated with work at companies like Deloitte. They work at Boeing. They work at GMC. They work at all these automotive companies. I know some that went to logistics and supply chain management. So we literally are everywhere. And that's what I love about it. And that's what kind of turned me on to the field, industrial engineering. There's so many different avenues that you could take your career, So I think it's just about looking at what you want to do. Now, here at Toyota, I can't say that I'm just an industrial engineer. It's funny because a lot of the engineers that I work with are mechanical, and they all say, when you come through this door, you're just an engineer. You're not an industrial, you're not mechanical, you're not civil, you're an engineer. And that's what I love about it. You just have to find I think industrial engineers are more prepared to kind of handle that versatile workforce. You know what I mean? Like whatever the workforce is demanding, whatever that job is needing, I do a lot of programming, I do a lot of wire and things like that. So I can apply for that because I have the experience, right? And I got that experience from what I learned at school. So I think we're out here. Industrial engineers are everywhere.
Okay. So one of the things I always want to do in everything that I'm engaged in is really inspire others to reach and do what, reach for the stars, Yeah. So how can we inspire more? I was reading something about you. It seemed like you were working with some young people in high schools. Why don't you talk about how do we go about inspiring? What have you done to inspire people in the next generation to become engineers?
Absolutely. One thing I always say that helps and promotes and encourages and inspires is just being visible. I learned about engineering, I knew about the discipline and what the job did, but I didn't think it was tangible until one of my friends, she was about 4 or 5 years older than me, said, "Oh yeah, I'm at WVU. I'm doing engineering. I'm doing civil engineering." And I was like, it was such a foreign thought that somebody that looked like me is in engineering. But seeing it made it such a reality and so tangible. So that's why I really am passionate about things. Like one thing that Toyota has let us do is the STEM program, and it's through West Virginia Tech University in Beckley, my hometown, Beckley. And what we do is we recruit high school students from 9th to 12th grade. I believe it's 9th to 12th or 9th to 11th. And what we do is bring them to the campus for a week, and they learn about STEM. They learn about engineering. They learn about mechanics.
Exciting, yeah.
I mean, it's just so like enthralling. It's so exciting. And Dr. Afrin Naz is who does it.
Oh, I know Dr. Afrin.
Right?
Yes.
She's the coordinator.
Dynamo.
Yeah.
Oh, and she's got that coverage, and she has all the coolest acronyms for her programs. And coverage is one of them. Yeah.
But I love doing things like that because it makes us visible, you know, it makes us tangible reality. Like I have two younger sisters, one's 15 and one's 13, and I'm on them every day. Like, what are you going to do? I can't be engineering this family, you know? So I just think being visible is how we inspire and how we push and encourage. Wow. That helps me tremendously.
Oh, definitely. So has the pandemic, I think the automotive industry thrived under pandemic because folks were driving more. Was that your experience?
And I can explain. I'm trying to do the math in my head because I'm thinking we're all at home, right?
Yeah, but I think I read that somewhere where
I mean, for us, and I, you know, I feel strongly about this, and I keep saying it, but you know, like, man, I'm blessed. Like the pandemic didn't negatively impact me at all. You know, like I still had the level, absolutely. I still had the level of responsibility that I had. I maintained my pay, you know, like I maintained all of the projects and stuff I was working on. I maintained the support that I needed to get this stuff done. We were just doing it from an at-home situation, right? But they took care of us. You know, they made sure we didn't have to worry and didn't have to really be overwhelmed with what to do. What do we do next? What do we do now? What do we? And we were having constant check-ins. Like our president, Serini Matam, made it a point to reach out to us every week. Like we would have these plant-wide virtual meetings, plant-wide, where he would just give us updates and talk to us and make sure we're good. And this is what's happening next. This is what we're thinking. So, I mean, in those uncertain times, that our jobs weren't anything we had to be concerned with, you know, and a lot of people can't say that, you know, so I just feel so blessed to be able to say, you know, like it really didn't impact anything that we did negatively, right? So
that is a blessing. That is a blessing, definitely. So what do you know now as an engineer at Toyota? What do you know now that you wish you knew back when you were in college at WVU?
Yeah, I wish that I would have, if I could tell my past self anything, it'd just be to not stress so much. And that's like, kind of like, that's hard to do because when you're in college, your mind is constantly on get a job, do well, prove yourself. But when you get to work, and that carried with me through to my job, you know, and I put all this pressure on myself to get it right all the time, every time. And the reality is you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to have every answer. You know, you're not going to have the perfect solution or the perfect system to implement that fixes every problem. And that's okay, you know, and I just never told myself that it was okay, you know. Luckily, you know, I was in a group where I had a lot of seasoned senior engineers that I could go to and ask for help. And if they had input, they gave it to me, you know. So just knowing that piece of it, that there are people that want to see you do well, and that there are people that are there to help, you know, it takes a lot of the load off. You don't have that burden of, oh my gosh, I've got to be perfect and I've got to do this well. If I don't get this one solution right, I'm going to, you know, get fired or something terrible like that, right? That's one thing I wish I would have just, because I feel like I would have been more effective. You know what I mean? I feel like I would have gotten more from my college experience and, you know, like even my work experience if I didn't have all this pressure, you know? So that's one thing I would tell myself, a younger version of myself.
Kind of chill out a little more.
Just chill out. Just enjoy, take in what you can, you know, like you're not going to have all the answers for everything, you know? So that's one thing I've learned.
Wonderful. So what's next for you? It seems like you're having a blast there at Toyota. What do you have on the horizon?
Hopefully it's more Toyota. I always tell them that. My general manager, I was like, I'm here until you tell me I have to leave, but there are so many opportunities that I don't think I would ever get tired. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So many different parts of this particular industry that I'm in that I don't feel like I'll ever get bored. Like I said, I switched and transitioned over to a new silo of Toyota on the production side, and I'm enjoying it. So I just want to, grow more. I always say laterally, that, lateral growth before I start like trying to move up. And I just wanted to add to my toolkit. That's what we call it at work, our toolkit. I just want to keep adding to that skill set and adding to what I know to be able to be a productive leader in the future.
Yeah, I can see you being in charge of that plant or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know. I can see it. I'm going to say that right now. Put it out there in the atmosphere. A West Virginia native, being the head person, president of Toyota West Virginia. I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'll write this down. Right, Dr.
Put
Foster.
that out there. I'm just going to say. So what sets your soul on fire? Like what makes you get up every morning and go to work with an expectation of having a great day? Like what sets your soul on fire?
I like results. I'm a very results driven person, and I like the idea of conquering something and seeing it done, So I always joke, like, the papers on my desk get higher and higher. But, at some level, that's what drives me. Shamaya, they're not going to be that high all the time, And one of these days, it's going to be nothing there, girl. You just keep going. So that I'm very results driven. I like being effective. I like impacting. I'm very much a people person too. I know that really doesn't play into that as much, but I love like just making things better. Like I like the idea of just making something better for someone else. And at work, my customer is the team member, right? So, being results driven makes me want to get up and find the best solution that I can. It makes me want to figure out this problem that we're having that causes them so much aggravation throughout the day, right? It drives me to be effective. And I think that's what pushes me. That's what sets my soul on fire is being effective, right? And impacting.
Making an impact, making a difference.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
As a young person who grew up in West Virginia, there are so many people who end up leaving. Like, what gives you hope in West Virginia, and what has kept you here in West Virginia, and what gives you hope?
Honestly, it's companies like where I work. It's companies like Toyota that gives me hope, right? And the more business, right, the more business that we continue to provide for, and the more people we can get to be a part of this culture, I think that'll be what revives the state. Things like that, right? Industry, things like new innovations. People like the idea of new, you know what I mean? And they love the idea of new technology and things like that, which is what we're doing at the plant every day. And I think that's honestly one of the reasons why I stayed, because I want to see, I love the job that I work for, and how amazing is it that it's in my state, right? My mom still lives here, so that's good
that
too.
That helps, I'm sure.
That helps a lot, I need to sometimes,
Having that support.
Having that
family support
is huge. It's so huge. It's big. It's a big deal for me, right? And for others too. So I think that'll be one of the things that really causes our state to kind of revive. It's just what we do, things like this at the plant, offering opportunities like this, even if it's not Toyota, but other industries in the state that will do the same thing. Like Mylan Pharmaceuticals is a big one. There's just things that if we continue to grow like we are, it will have a positive impact, I think. And it will cause other people to come. It will help our recruitment, I think.
Okay, so an influx of people coming to work in West Virginia. Yeah, it's certainly an affordable place to live. So
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful here, you know, the mountains
Absolutely.
and, you know, the things that you can do here. Like, I think there's so many other things that people don't know about, you know, that people who aren't from this part of the country get to see a lot of, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, so we have to make it visible, a part of that visibility
And be
piece.
proud
Make
of
it
and be
visible.
like, because I remember last couple years ago now, not 2020, but I think it was 2019. Had a couple friends in from New York, and they were like, "Michelle, are you sure you're not working for the Department of Tourism?" Because I just felt so proud. It was like I was showing them everywhere, and
I'm telling you.
I think we all have to be like our own tourism,
So you have to
board for West.
really put your state out there, right? Or because if you don't
Absolutely,
love it, you're not going to get anybody else to love it.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's
Well, thank you
funny.
so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure getting to know you and learn more about the great work that you're doing at Toyota. But
Well, thank
keep
you.
it
I
up.
really appreciate you for having me and the invitation. I really appreciate it.
All righty. Take care.
You too.
Mm.